Good evening and welcome to Jack Dodsons Racing Insider News with Scott Allen.
Well, don't be all enthused, why don't you? We had a good weekend. We went to Martinsville, had a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun at Martinsville. And as if we didn't have a whole lot to talk about the race at Martinsville, a whole bunch of stuff hit the fan today. And that's unbelievable.
I would not want to be at Richard Childress Racing today.
There's got to be some people that's got to do a whole lot of explaining.
Yeah, I
wonder why. I wonder.
Well, if those of you that don't know, the 31 team, I guess, got caught somehow bleeding air out of their tires in the 31. They got a 75-point deduction, suspended a crew chief, the engineer, and a tire specialist for 6 weeks, and a $125,000 fine.
And that is unbelievable. And the word was, and I was listening to another show coming here tonight, and the word was, we're going to show them that you don't mess with those type of parts on the car.
And it's always been a known fact. You don't mess with the tires or the engine is going to be a big penalty. It's always been that way. Anybody that's been involved in our sport always knows that tires, you can expect a big penalty from those.
Anytime you deal with something that's going to be performance related, that they don't have a handle on what's going on, when they do find out, you're going to get hit very hard.
And they did. The $150,000, I mean, obviously the money of these, that's not, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. The 75 points are going to be hard to overcome.
Yep. And we still don't, and from what I understand, Richard Childress says he needs to get more information from NASCAR to find out exactly what took place before they make a decision on the appeal. And I'm sure that will be coming within the next couple of days, because it'll determine who's going to be going to Texas the week after next.
Right.
But luckily they've got a week off this week to get to that point to find out exactly what they got to do. Going to be some shuffling of some crew chiefs down there if Luke Lambert is not able to go. I've heard through my sources that there's a couple things that are liable to take place when that decision's made. We'll just see if it works out the way I was told, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what all's going. I mean,
it will be. It'll be curious to how it goes. I mean, I don't know what evidence they have that's going to be. I mean, I wish they would show us or let us know what exactly.
But let's also take into, this was not the Martinsville race that they were fined for. This was the Fontana race.
Right.
These tires went to an independent third source.
Yeah, third party.
To look at the tires. This is what came up. Today's the day for penalty, so it came out today. But that's tough. I mean, that's 75 points. The only thing he can do now is win to get in.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got to win.
And he probably could climb his way back. It's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. 75 points is a lot of points. I mean, that's a lot of points. That's almost 2 races.
But when you go from 8th in points to 27th in points, that means you got to jump all these other people who are getting points at the same time. That's not an easy thing to do. No. You're going to have to catch guys that are not having good races.
If they keep performing like they have been performing and knocking out top 10s, they should be able to get there. But losing your crew chief, your head engineer, and your tire guys for 6 weeks is going to be hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, well, the tire guy, I mean, I hate to say they're a dime a dozen, but that's not a significant.
Well, you got to look at it this way too. I mean, and I have somebody that works at Richard Childress. As far as missing the engineer that's on the 31, that may not be as big a hit. I mean, because you've got other engineers there in the company, but he doesn't know the 31.
Well, that's what I mean. When you got the crew chief and the head engineer, unless they have another pair that works well, but then they still have to work the chemistry with Ryan, and we had kind of mentioned that it's a possibility that Nick Harris would go over there. I don't know how that would work because you got Ryan's an engineer, his crew chief is an engineer, so they have probably their own language. Where Nick is kind of like you and me, we're sort of seat of the pants or inexperienced.
But Nick and Ryan have worked together before on the which was the old Nationwide series for the 51. Right. So they have worked together before. And him. And
we're not saying that's what's going to happen.
No, we don't know that for a fact, but that's
what we're thinking that could happen.
But
then you still have Brad Parrott over there too.
Yeah, you got Brad Parrott there. You got.
So they have a deep resources.
But you got Danny Stockman and Mike Hillman that are on a full-time team that's running for points, running for the championship.
Right. And you wouldn't want to move those guys.
Those guys are probably pretty solidified where they are. They're not going to be moved. So then it becomes the odd man, and the fact that Ryan has worked with Nick and had good finishes with Nick in a nationwide car. So I think. That's a possibility. That's a big possibility. It may happen. Hopefully, I'll get in touch with Nick this week. Maybe get him on the show next week, and we'll discuss some of that stuff. Maybe he'll tell us, and maybe he won't. But I see that as a viable option that they're looking at. I think that's going to be one of the things. But again, you got 2 weeks to deal with here between now and the next race at Texas, so they got plenty of time to decide whether they're going to appeal or what they're going to do. I think in everybody's mind that I talked to earlier, I made 2 phone calls on the way in. The thing is, go ahead and get it out of the way now because you don't want it to linger until the middle of the summer when you really need these people around. Go ahead and get it over with.
I totally agree. If instead of appealing it, unless you really think that you have a shot of doing away with it or maybe – condensing down the suspension, I would probably still take the next couple of races until you hear back or whatever the case is going to be. Maybe you can get it from 6 to 3 or something like that. I highly doubt it because we all know. Before we even gone this far, we know that if you screw with those tires or the motor, it's going to be severe.
Right, and they've let it be known,
and they certainly let everybody know. It was a hot topic in the media center on Friday when we were there.
I didn't realize that this has been a hot topic since Daytona.
I didn't either.
But I'm talking to somebody along the line. They said this has been discussed over and over and over again ever since Daytona. It really hit the fan in Atlanta. In week 2, it really hit the fan then, and then all the people started pointing their fingers, and that was funny. Everybody was, well, this team's doing this, and I don't think anybody really set their sights on the 31.
No, everybody thought it was the 4. Everybody thought the 4, and I will say, bleeding air out of tires is not going to make the car fast. The car's got to be fast to begin with. It will definitely make the car run longer on the long run, without a doubt. But you're not going to do – we all know you're not going to do something in that garage because those tires are sitting out in front of everybody that somebody's not going to see it.
True.
Somebody's going to eventually see it. Now, you could probably do it for a while. We've all pushed the issues on those things, and sometimes you could do something in plain sight and people don't even realize it because they're not looking –
Yeah.
You think nobody would ever do it right out in plain sight.
But you look at it, you look at how protective, and I'm not making a joke of the situation, but how protective those teams are of those tires. I have had to stand in a pit with a team, stand there blocking tires so people can't see the tires that come off a car. And that's just information about what happened before. But
they're so secretive about everything. Let's be honest. Almost every team I think now has digital radios, and when they're practicing, they don't speak about how the car's handling and what they want to do to the car in practice. They wait till they pull into the pit. They hook a digital radio up because the driver with the rules cannot have a digital radio in their car and be on the racetrack.
And nobody else can have one either, except
No.
I mean, the spotters can't. I meant the spotters can't have one at all, period, up there with them.
No, yeah. I was asking.
Oh, really?
The spotter and the crew chief and the engineers and everybody but the driver has a digital channel, so they all listen and discuss changes that they want to make on the digital side, so nobody else can hear them. Because I don't know much about the digital radio itself, but I'm pretty sure that you can control who can listen. Where I don't know what type. Anybody can go in and get the code and listen to those drivers speak back and forth. But all the crew members have two channels. They have one that the driver listens on, and they have the digital, so they can discuss what changes they want to make.
Well, that's something I wasn't really. I knew at one time that they were limited in the fact that the spotter could not have a digital radio.
Was it digital radio, or was it where they could talk to different crew members when they had all
digital radio too? They were.
I could be wrong. I know the crew and the crew chiefs and the engineers. Now, maybe the spotter. I could be wrong on the spotter, but I thought he had said the spotter too.
Well, I remember when all that stuff started happening with the radios, one of the things they said that the spotter would not be allowed anything more than one radio on top of that box.
Maybe I think it was speak to one team. Or
well,
one
I know
driver.
you can't speak to one team, and I know they had that where you could turn it and talk to everybody, but I think it ended up being there was not going to be anything but one radio up there. I think it turned out to be one radio and a spare. But I could be wrong too. I don't know, but I remember talking to one of the guys, and we'll
ask Trent. We have Trent Owens coming on the show at about 7:40. Crew chief of the 43 Cup car that had a good run. I think they ended up 12th, 13th.
They had a good run,
and they're what, 8th or so in points.
In the top, I think they're like in the top 10. Somewhere in the top 10. I can't remember exactly where they are.
Yeah,
and they had a good run, and it was a big weekend for the STP team and STP the product that they put out and the sponsorship of the race and everything. It was a big weekend for them. And they did pretty well. And
they've done well. I mean, they haven't. I don't think they've knocking out those top 10s. I really don't know where they finished the first few races, but they're fairly close. I think they're in that top 15. I think they keep knocking those out.
And I think what's really going to be funny, we'll get with Trent too, is this alliance thing they've got going on with Roush and Penske and all these.
And those guys are asking for help from Penske.
So it'd be interesting to. I mean, I know he's not going to tell us a whole lot, but what I'm saying is, why are these teams performing so much better than the Roush teams?
Well, yeah, but now we'll find out from Trent. Well, you think that they're affiliated with Penske, and I thought they were affiliated with Roush.
I thought they were doing a lot of work with Penske, and I could be wrong again, but for some reason
Did you say you might be wrong?
I've said that twice so far.
Well, we'll mark this one now. If he's wrong, I'm gonna hold him to it.
And I hope Brian Morehouse ain't watching because I don't want him to think I'm soft enough around here.
Kyle Larson not making the race, or not making, got fainted at the Chevy
autograph session.
An autograph session. And just released out of hospital this afternoon.
Today,
so I don't know if they just did a whole bunch of tests or they haven't said what's going on. They said everything seems okay, but that doesn't mean anything.
But he still hasn't been cleared to return to racing yet. And again, that 2-week thing between the race.
They got plenty of time.
They got plenty of time to get that worked out. And
I'd say Regan Smith did a good job.
Super sub.
I mean, to tell you,
I think he was in. They finished in the top 20 in that race, and
I think he was 16th or 15th, and I think he ran better than that. But something happened. I can't remember if he got into that one race there at the end for a wreck.
4, 6, 5, 9.
Hello, how you doing, Garret?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
All right, how you doing? We got Garret Smithley on the line from down at where you in Mooresville?
Kannapolis, North Carolina.
You in Kannapolis? Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit give us a little background on Garret Smithley and where he started and how he got to where he's at today.
Yeah, so I started racing when I was 15 years old, which is a little bit of a late start compared to most of the guys that I'm racing with now. raced in the Bandolero Series at Atlanta Speedway, where I'm from. I was born in Pennsylvania, but I grew up in Georgia, started racing in Georgia, so that's kind of where my race first started. Lived in Peachtree City, Georgia, only about 25 minutes from the Atlanta Speedway down there. Started in Bandoleros on the quarter mile, and worked my way up. I got a couple sponsors and got into the Legends Series and raced probably about probably a year and a half in Georgia down there. In the Legends Series, actually not even that long. I only raced from, I think it was February 2010 till 2011 when I moved to North Carolina. And so when I was racing in the Legends Series, I got spotted by one of the Richard Petty Driving Experience employees who was volunteering at the track there as a track worker. And Jeff Salter is his name. He really was a huge part of my career, and he really got me hooked up with the Petty Experience. So I did a driver development program in 2010 with the Petty Experience. It was called the Richard Petty Driver Search 2, and did really well. We went up to Charlotte. We did a 4-day training camp, drove all kinds of cars, drove on road course, did some media stuff, did some, it was a mock press conference with Kyle Petty, did a commercial with Jamie Little, and did all kinds of stuff. And the end of the day, we got to drive a cup car at Shrubbery Speedway, which was just insane to go from racing Bandoleros that year in February to, go into a full, 850 horsepower cup car at Charlotte, going 195 miles an hour, which was insane. So I did really well there, and they called me, the Petty Experience called me about probably about 2 months after that, and offered me a job, and that's kind of how I got to the next step, going up to North Carolina. I knew that I needed to get to North Carolina, but really didn't know how, and that was kind of a blessing in my next step. So I did that, and then moving forward, I got hooked up with Brian Kozlowski, who gave me my first opportunity in the ARCA Series, testing at Daytona, and that got me approved for 2013, and I ran 3 races with Derek Cope Racing, and then I ran 1 race in Talladega in the ARCA Series with West Honda Racing, and then just continue to work my way up and find sponsors and stuff like that. And then I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, but I just made my NASCAR Cape World Truck Series debut at Atlanta, which was just incredible.
Yeah, I was in Atlanta when you were there, and that had to be a wonderful experience to be able to make your start there in Atlanta at your home track.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was insane. I told a couple of my supporters, of my fans that came out, and friends, that I had been in and out of that tunnel. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of times. I can't tell you how many times doing practices and test sessions and different things that we did at the track. Before that. So it was so surreal to drive through that tunnel for the first time as a NASCAR driver. And, what better place to go for your first NASCAR start than your home track where you ran your very first race. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I was just saying, how many friends and family did you bring to the racetrack?
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many people there. We had people, of course, my mom and dad were there, and my brother, which was amazing because they've been through the whole thing. They were my very first supporters. They kind of looked at me weird when I first told them when I told them I wanted to be a race car driver. They said, "Oh, that's different. Well, good luck with that."
Okay.
But no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, what made you get started in racing? I mean, did anybody in your family race prior, and that's why you wanted to do it, or just on a limb?
Well, my dad went to school at Amarillo University to be a pilot, which is right behind Daytona Speedway. So that kind of got his, blood flowing with racing. He was a huge race fan. He went to the 24-hour races with the Firecracker 400 at that time, and just was a huge NASCAR fan growing up. And naturally, when I was born and my brother was born, we were, I was 2-3 years old when we started watching NASCAR. So I was always a fan of it. Our whole family were huge fans of it. My very first race, I think I was 4 or 5 years old. We went to Dover and fell asleep on my mom's lap. So I was always really big into it. I knew all the sponsors, crew chiefs, and everybody involved. And I never really got the bug to drive until I was about 13 or 14. I went to a local amusement park down there in Georgia, and I got on these little Pepsi go-karts. And I was driving, and it was like a light switch. It's like, I just found what I want to do. I want to be a race car driver. So I don't know. It just kind of, it all clicked. And I said, and from that moment forward, I was absolutely obsessed with making that dream a reality. So, from there, I found the local series and, found a car, and my parents helped me out a little bit, but I was, always the one. I had to work on the car. I had to go find the sponsors, and, really they made me work for it, which is why it means so much to get to this level, because it's not like I was handed everything that I got. I really had to work for it. And, they've always been supportive, but it takes so much money to get to this level, and I've just done all I could to make it happen.
Now, with the Richard Petty driving school, do you go to other tracks other than Charlotte? I assume you do that.
Yep. I've been to, I don't know the official count, but it's around 15 different NASCAR tracks that I've been to,
so,
including Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is, I think, why it was so natural getting into the truck and not really understanding what to expect. I've been on that track at 165 miles an hour, so I knew where the bumps are. I knew, what the characteristics of the track were. And I think that's going to help me moving forward, going to all these different tracks, already having that experience. And even if there was only a few laps, going to that track and knowing what it's like to be on the track, it kind of gives a little bit of confidence going into it.
Yeah, I did the Richard Petty driving school at Atlanta. It's been a few years. It was right after it was redone, when they redone the racetrack. And
yeah.
I did it right after that, and man, I tell you, that's an unbelievable experience. So you can pull some of that stuff from going to these tracks. You can pull that into your knowledge as far as what you're doing with your racing today.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Somebody kind of put it in perspective for me. When we go and race, it is instinctive. When we know when to get back on the gas, we know when to turn, how to turn. It's just, we don't think about it. When we are teaching, and they just changed their program about 2.5 years ago to right seat instructing. So us as instructors are riding with the students. So when we go to these different tracks, we have to tell them, somebody who's never been in a race car before, exactly how to do it. And that's really kind of helped me hone my skills and kind of, put my brain from, just doing it without thinking to actually thinking about how to govern the race car and different techniques and things like that. And I've definitely seen a difference once I started doing that in my own driving, because telling somebody else to do it, you have to think about it constantly. So that helped. Not only that, but, just being familiar with the track. Atlanta's very, very bumpy. I know when you did it, it was just redone, so it probably wasn't as bumpy.
No, it wasn't. No.
Atlanta was probably one of the hardest mile-and-a-half tracks that NASCAR goes to, very bumpy. And just to know exactly, where the bumps are, where the drop-offs are, the transitions from the banking, it's a huge advantage from my perspective.
I got a question. Now, you're doing the Richard Petty driving school. Do you sit in the passenger seat and tell somebody how to drive?
Yes.
What is one of your scariest moments? There's got to be a good story to somebody scared you.
Nothing really, jumps out at me. I've heard some crazy stories from other instructors.
Oh, really?
There's been a couple times that we've gone down, and granted, these people that are coming out, they're huge race fans. They watch it. Some of them have some racing experience, but 9 times out of 10, you get guys that have never driven a race car in their life. So,
and they think it's easy.
You're trying to, yeah, exactly. And they get in and they're like, oh my goodness, you have so much to think about. It's the G-forces and all the physical stuff that you got to do, and then actually thinking about doing it. And it's counterintuitive because you don't drive like that on the street. Right. And it's just it's an uneasy feeling doing that. So one time that kind of stands out is going down, and turn one, we had been doing, I think it was an 8-lap rookie, and we've been getting up to some pretty good speed. We were probably going about 130, 35, and at that point, or it may have been even a little less than that, but for me, I'm used to going 160, 165 constantly, so that's kind of, I was just kind of relaxing and whatnot, and of course, whoever was in the driver's seat, they were just up on the wheel shaking and, just enjoying it. And we went down, he or she, I don't remember who it was, but ran, 3 or 4 perfect laps and was doing good. So I kind of relaxed a little bit. And all of a sudden, going down in turn one, they just yanked the wheel down and just dropped down onto the apron. And I was like, whoa, it's not where you want to be. And luckily, we have a little handbrake on our right side. So I pulled the handbrake a little bit, got us back straight. And needless to say, we slowed down a good bit after that lap.
Yeah, I bet some of them probably drive real fast down a straightaway and then slow way down and go through the corner.
Yeah, but as far as getting scared, it's really, we're there to help them, and we are very, very in control of the situation. Even though we don't have a steering wheel, and we're ultimately not driving the car, we drive the car with our voice and how we portray things, and how we get up to speed. Try to work their way up, and it's very, very safe. It's we don't hardly ever have any mechanical issues, and if we do, they're very minor, and they get them fixed, and it's not a big deal. So everything's really, really contained there.
Well, I'm glad that I got to do it before they put the drivers in the car with you, because I was in the car by myself. That was fun. I enjoyed that.
Well, you were following the car though, so
yeah, I was following.
Split up a little bit.
Yeah, but see, no, the thing about it is, I was following the car. My son works at Hendrick Motorsports, and when he was little, that's when I did it. We were down at Atlanta, and he told me, he said, "Dad, don't embarrass me."
Oh, you were young then.
And he said, please don't embarrass me. I said, okay. So, they told us if the man's waving, you need to speed up, and if he does this, you need to slow up, and all this other stuff. Well, he never told me to speed up. I was always being told to slow up. And one time I got a little too close to the guy in front of me, and they kind of backed me off at that point. But I enjoyed it.
I'm going to have to ask Lee to verify this.
Well, you ask him, because he was right there. But it was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast doing it, and I ended up with the top speed that day in the class.
Wow.
But I had some racing experience before that, so
Oh, he's bragging.
No, I had some racing experience, but that helps a little bit when you're out there and you have a little bit.
Toot your own horn. You were the fastest of the non-drivers.
Yeah, I was the fastest of the non-drivers. I didn't try to go out there.
Go.
But
it's such a cool experience to give fans that experience, because even if they're just riding, you can't explain to somebody what it's like to drive a race car at that speed.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Place like Charlotte or Atlanta. So it's really cool to see their reactions and really makes it feel good when they have a good time.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a lot of fun to see those reactions, how excited people get. And, sometimes we kind of take it for advantage because we've been in the sport or raced ourselves, and we kind of know what it's like, and it's kind of a norm to us. But to other people, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh, yeah. Well, the coolest reaction that I ever get is when I'm giving a ride, and I can hear the screams over the engine. You know it's a good ride for them if they're screaming at the engine.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So what does your racing schedule look like for the rest of the year? Now, I saw something along the way that you were looking to try to get some Xfinity starts, but what is your schedule like for the rest of the year?
Yeah, it's kind of in the air right now. It's moving pictures. It's always a very dynamic schedule, especially because I personally don't have the money behind me. So I'm always kind of looking for that next opportunity, looking for, whether it be a team that needs a driver or, finding some sponsors and things like that. We're pushing to get in either a truck or an Xfinity car, in Charlotte. That's kind of our next goal right now. So we're actually looking for sponsors for that. Really, it just all depends. I'm working with a marketing company in Atlanta called Creation, and they've been helping me out a lot. They secured my sponsor with Goodwill for my Talladega race, which was just an amazing experience getting to work with those guys down in Talladega and in Georgia. We recently signed, well, not recently now, but it's been about 8 months since we signed our deal with Smithley, who was on the car or was on the truck at Atlanta with my other partner, Gearbox, which I'll talk to you about a little bit later. But we're hoping to continue to grow our relationship with Smithley. They're an online merchant payment processing company, kind of like PayPal, and they're trying to break into to the racing industry and doing some gaming with iRacing and some things like that. So hopefully we'll have some exciting news coming up in the next few months with them. But it's a moving picture. We're always working, always trying to find that next sponsor, find that next opportunity. And I'm hoping that we can get a few Xfinity starts this year, a few more truck races this year, and go for a full season in 2016.
Well, that's cool. And so you don't have anything specifically with the Mittler brothers anymore the rest of the year that you know of?
Not right now. I actually went up to Martinsville to support the team. They had Jake Griffin, 16-year-old. I think he raced their late model kid that ran for them in Martinsville and was doing a nice job. I think they had some transition issues. But I went up there Friday to talk to those guys, see how everybody was doing, and they really want me back. They loved having me, and we worked really, really well together. Miller Brothers have a fantastic team. They're based in Missouri, and for a one-truck team, they put on a great team, and they really made me feel like I was family, which is kind of difficult in the racing community, especially if you're a first-generation racer that doesn't have a racing background, doesn't know anybody. So breaking into NASCAR can be a little bit scary, but they took us in with open arms, and we were really happy. So I hope that I can work with them. There's some talks about maybe possibly running Chicagoland coming up, and Texas, and some of the other races on the schedule. So I'm definitely keeping that open, and I really hope that I can get back with them and work with them.
So, well, we wish you to let us know, because we were at Martinsville. We'd love to get up with you. So what was your first car number? When you first started racing, what number did you run?
Number 43, actually. And it's funny that I ended up back at the Petty experience, because running the 43 had nothing to do with Richard Petty. So when we lived in Pennsylvania, my dad's hometown in Ligonier, Pennsylvania, he was a volunteer firefighter, and his station number was Station 43.
Okay.
And I picked number 43, and it kind of stuck. So it's kind of ironic that I ended up at the Petty experience. And maybe one of these days I could drive the number 43 Cup car one of these days. I don't know.
That would be a good thing, wouldn't it? You'd like to do that.
I'd really like to do that.
Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight, Garrett. It was really nice talking with you. Hopefully we can get up with you after you get a couple more races in this year and see how things are going. And good luck. We hope you get something full-time in 2016.
Yeah, I appreciate the time, guys. And just real quick, if we have just a minute to talk about Gearbox. We had
Go ahead, sure.
We had a Gearbox.org on the truck at Atlanta, and they're a local nonprofit in Peachtree City, my hometown, that sends custom care packages to deployed service members overseas. And we had 5 veterans come out to the racetrack, and we got to give them a VIP experience, and really say thank you to those guys. And we can't do enough for those guys. And it was really, really awesome to have them on the truck. We're hopefully going to be working with them a lot closer throughout the year. Also, EnduringGratitude.org, they are based in Snow Camp, North Carolina. They put on different events for veterans, namely shooting events, and I'm hopefully going to be able to grow them. We're actually going to be launching a campaign to help draw some support from my race fans and some of our racing fans and friends. So be looking for that on GarrettSmithley.com, my website, and also on Facebook, Facebook.com/GarrettSmithley Racing, and on Twitter and Instagram. I try to do some giveaways, and I got some hats, and we're doing some exciting stuff over there. So check those things out, and I appreciate you guys letting me on here, and definitely I'll give you guys a call when we'll be running some more races this year.
Please do. And we like to keep up with you, because I always like to keep up with the guys that are trying to get into the sport, and we hope we'll be hearing good things the rest of the year for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you a lot, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett.
And we'll talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Man, what a nice kid.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
And he's working for himself. He's not coming from money. So he's actually actively working on these sponsors, which is great experience, and it's good for him. And man, that seems like such a nice kid. And the care package is a great thing to send to the soldiers overseas. Right. I mean, some of the smallest little things mean so much to those guys over there. So that's a great program.
He just, one of the things I saw him at Atlanta. I really didn't talk to him or anything like that, but I did see him, and I paid a little attention to him while he was there. And that's what got my interest in trying to get him on the show, is because I knew he had a lot of stuff going on.
It seems like it.
And I just thought that, it'd be good to hear from somebody like. Plus, he's with the Richard Petty Driving School, which is a big deal too. I mean, I think that's really cool.
Is
at
Brian
his age,
still out there?
Brian Keselowski still does it every now and then. I don't think.
I thought he was in charge of the.
Well, he was at one time. He was in charge of it, but I think now that they've got an ARCA team that they're working to try to get the ARCA program started. I don't think he's out and involved in it as much as he was, because they got the Kurieski kid that's driving for him.
Oh yeah.
And
is that full time though?
Well, I don't think it's full time. I think it's sponsorship driven. But I think they are going to the next race, wherever that is. The next race. Don't ask me. I can't remember. But they're going to the next one. And
ARCA's not what it used to be.
Yeah, and then they're going to. I think the Talladega. They're going to Talladega for their big ARCA race there. So yeah, they're kind of building towards their own organization there, and he's not going to be the driver. They're trying to get other people involved in driving, and that'd be somebody good that we need to touch base with and get him on here again. But he's Brian Keselowski. So yeah, that'd be a good one. And this kid here, I hope he gets something somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I didn't even see how old is this kid, because he's not very old.
He's in his early 20s.
I'm going to say 22 or.
Yeah, he's in his early 20s. And already being an instructor at Richard Petty Driving School, which is pretty interesting that they would have somebody that young, because when I went, it was a bunch of older guys, And wish I could tell you who the guy was. He used to race on the West Coast all the time. He was my driving instructor there at the school.
Yeah, I had some young guy. I did a ride along at Daytona one time, and that was a neat experience, especially Daytona, because it was like, I remember when I first went, and you don't believe the G's that you pull. When you only run 165 miles an hour. I can't imagine what 195, 198 feels like compared to the 165, because you've driven race cars. Just half a second, which is not that many miles an hour, is a huge difference in sensation. We were running 165. I remember going down, when we come off pit road wide open, I'm thinking, dang, I'm going right in the corner and he's not lifting. Well, you don't lift at Daytona.
That's right.
And we run up close to the wall, I guess, just in case something happened. You wouldn't have that far before you hit the wall, for safety reasons. And I can remember the first time we went through 3 and 4, and we come down the front stretch and went down and it was like, and then I remember going down into one, I'm like, God, I started tensing up, because you're waiting for because your normal reaction is to lift, but there's no lift.
Well, I did the ride along at Orlando at Disney, at the racetrack at Disney. I did a ride along there, and then I did a ride along at Richmond. Just the guy gave it to me, told me take a ride, and that was cool. But nothing beat being in Atlanta. And that was just. Yeah, that was all the fun in the world. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the place is fast. But I hope the kid. I hope we hear something back from him, and I hope he finds some sponsorship. And it sounds like he's doing a good job for somebody, I want to say like a true racer, a blue collar that you and I can relate to, compared to, and I don't mean it in an offense to a Brian Scott or a Paul Menard that comes from money and their family can afford to write them a check, which is great. I mean, if I had the money and my kid wanted to race, I would stroke a check too.
Yeah, I would. You're right.
So I mean, it's no disrespect to those guys. It's just they're fortunate enough to be able to do it.
All right, let's see if we can get Trent Owens.
All right, we're gonna call Trent Owens, crew chief of the 43 Eric Amarola Petty car.
Hello.
How you doing, Trent? Is this Trent Owens, right? This is Jack Dodson. Got Scott Allen with you, and going to see how things are going down in your neck of the woods today.
Not too bad. Just another day at the job. No race this weekend, so looking forward to a weekend off, I guess.
So, what do you got planned for your weekend off? I mean, you got a whole weekend. My son is in the sport, and he's looking forward to it.
I think just staying home. Staying home is like a vacation to me, but no, I'll probably just spend time with the kids. Do the Easter stuff and just enjoy before we get on a little stretch here before summer.
Is the week at the shop prior to this off week? Is it just as hectic as any other week, or do you kind of lay back a little bit, or is it as hectic?
No, I mean not really. There's never a time during the season where we can really be lax or anything like that. I mean we're preparing a race car today and tomorrow to go test at Richmond next Wednesday. We're not have a tire test there on Tuesday and then the team test on Wednesday. So we'll be there for the team test. So every week's a busy week in the racing world. It does give you a chance to kind of look back on what you've done in the races so far, and kind of detail some areas that you think you might need to improve on, and you get to spend a little more time with the guys that stay back home, and kind of just refresh a starting point and get back going. So it's always helpful for sure.
Tell me, in your mind, and I know you've been around the sport for a long time, what did you think about the West Coast swing as far as the 3 races in a row on the West Coast? And I know it's hard logistically on the teams, but how did you think it worked out for us the doing it like they did it?
I liked it. I liked it for the fact that our main transporters could just stay out there for those 3 weeks. And I liked it that the weather was nice. But, the crew, we fly back and forth. We're, obviously it's tough on us, flying back and forth. But really the hardest thing is the cars going from Charlotte to the West Coast through our main transporter doing the swap out. The cars just have to be prepared another 3 or 4 days ahead of schedule from what you would normally do. So that's probably the hardest part. But, if that 3-week span had fallen, say, the middle of summer, it'd be almost impossible. But, at the start of the season is probably definitely the right way to do it.
Now, how far do you keep cars ready? So are you like 2 weeks out or 3 weeks out or a couple of weeks out?
We have to plan, as far as car rotations, about 4 weeks out. But, as far as the car being completed, engine in the car, you're definitely about a week away of the car being completed and set up. Pretty much assembled 2 weeks out for sure.
Okay.
So now you've got a great little driver in Eric Almirola. Tell us how your season is going and the things that you've seen that leads you to believe this team is coming along really good.
Well, when we ended last season, we felt like we were good at times, we were bad at times, and we just felt like we wanted to be, just more consistent. Not have the ups and downs and try to prevent that. You're always going to have bad luck. You're always going to have bad races from time to time. You got to expect that. But we just wanted the days that we had a 15th place car, we wanted to finish 15th and just be more consistent. And I think this season we've shown that that's an area we worked on, and it's been working so far. We've been fortunate that we haven't had a lot of bad luck start the season. We've gotten a little bit of, skirmish in Las Vegas racing for Lucky Dog. But outside of that, we've had decent finishes, and we set 10th in points. So, all in all, it's been a great start to the season for us. And hopefully we can just continue that and make our top 15 runs, top 10 runs here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, last year in the chase, y'all did well in the chase. I mean, I think a lot of people overlooked you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Chicago in the first race and was having a really good race. So, we lost an engine. Went to New Hampshire the next week and finished, I think, 6th. Dover was a little bit of a letdown, and we didn't transfer to the next round. But, losing the engine really hurt those chances. But we did come out of the box in the chase, and I think we were more competitive than what people were giving us credit to be. We were definitely hoping to be the bracket spoiler, so to speak. But anyway, as the season winded down, we were a little bummed that we got kicked out and stuff like that.
Well, especially as good as y'all ran. Especially as good as y'all ran, because y'all did run well.
Yeah, it was a hard blow. We felt like we definitely should have